Rick suffers a near-fatal attack as the final test of the mysterious party that trained him. By still being alive, the party states he should now be more than powerful enough to take the E-rank test. Welcome back to the next recap, where we'll be looking into episode 1 of the Ossan Newbie adventure trained to death by the most powerful party became invincible. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and let me know in the comment section. Thank you and enjoy. In the city, we are introduced to the status quo of this world. In a job like adventuring, it's commonly believed that those who start out should be young, youthful, and in their teens. But Rick is 32 years old and applying to be an adventurer. At the Adventurers Guild, Alyssa recognizes him as her previous senpai. 2 years ago, it surprised her to hear that at his age, he suddenly quit and chose to become an adventurer. Just then, a drunk senior adventurer starts flirting and harassing the receptionist. Rick puts his shoulder over him and pulls him aside and hand on his chest armor till the adventurer passes out, foaming in the mouth. Rick concludes that he must have drank too much and passed out. Alyssa thanks Rick for his help and hands him his exam tickets with his listed number 4242, which sounds unlucky to him. Walking out, he's greeted by Renette's boob, a dark elf wearing a maid's uniform and one of the members of the party that trained him. Renette asks how things are going, and Rick tells her that everything went well. He's now been registered to take the adventurer's exam. Back inside the guild, a handprint is found in steel armor, something that doesn't happen unless you're on magical fucking steroids. In the armor of the drunk passed out adventurer, who turns out to be a former A-rank wanted for assault. And it seems he actually passed out from damage caused by Rick putting his hand on his chest. The adventurer test begins, and it starts with measuring magical energy. Other young testers go first, measuring an average of D+, till it's Rick's turn and he gets F-. Murmurs go around at his result, and he walks away from the test, disappointed. At the next test, being a physical one, a green slime bag is used to measure their power level, as it has the capability to absorb blows. Rick, thinking back to his past training, he thinks of how one of his teacher, Broughton, told him to destroy a golden slime bag with his bare hands, which is as strong as a dragon's teeth. He was taught that this was elementary for all beginner adventurers, and Broughton himself could destroy 200 at once. The test begins, and an 11-year-old kid prodigy, second son of a duke, steps forward, arrogant, to show off his power. He fires an incredibly tiny fireball. All those who spectate are impressed, except for Rick, confused, who remembers fireballs from training being much larger and deadly, but in the end concludes that the child prodigy must have compressed it to use indoors. Rick watches on and thinks of how much more than a green slime bag also has the ability to absorb powerful attacks. It's his turn, and he walks up till the old examiner stops him, looking at his atrocious magic results and age. He advises Rick to stop here and give up. He thinks to himself the examiner is right. He's old and shitty at magic, but thinking back to his grueling training and how back then he didn't give up, he gets ready to attack, putting all his effort into one blow. Rick destroys the slime bag and shocks everyone. The arrogant duke's son watches on thinking,
"This old guy stole my thunder! But no matter, my true speciality is defense magic. I'll show him."
But in the next test, Rick defends against a magic attack even he couldn't withstand. The examiner fires a level 5 spell that breaks the arena and alerts nearby Sylvester, a first-class knight. Investigating, he learns of how a F-rank adventurer destroyed a green slime bag and defended against a level 5 attack with just a level 1, whose previous occupation was Receptionist. We also learn that in power scaling, the golden slime bag Rick used to train with is tiered as the highest and the green the lowest. Later on, speaking with Renette, she asks how the written test went, and he tells it was a piece of cake, giving credit to his 14 years as a receptionist. Just then, the child prodigy, Freed, shows up. Jealous, Rick politely asks if he's lost and tells he'll take him to his parents. Freed starts crying and tells him to stop messing with him. He was going to show off his power in this test and make his debut, but Rick stole his thunder. Just then, his older sister, Angelica, shows up. Freed tells this 40-ish-year-old man was bullying him, which ticks him off, saying he's only 30-ish. Angelica joins in calling him a 40-ish-year-old man before taking off her glove and throwing it at Rick, challenging him to a duel. Rick impulsively picks it up, worried it'll get dirty, and unintentionally agrees to the duel. Standing in the arena, Angelica states she's a second-class knight and proposes a condition for the duel, being the loser has to become the victor's servant until death. Rick asks Renette, and she tells that a second-class knight is as the same as a B-rank adventurer, but Rick, not knowing his strength, thinks he's going to die in fighting this duel. To calm him down, Renette simply says for him to think and remember of his training for the last 2 years, which ends up triggering his trauma and PTSD. He throws up, but now because of it, he's not scared anymore. The party, Orichalcum Fist, which prides itself on being the strongest on the continent, considers him a member, and using his trauma, he's gonna win this. This gave Rick the motivation to fight, but not knowing if he'll be able to do anything at all against a B-rank adventurer. Angelica activates and uses her technique, Flickering Feet, and deliberately misses, which shocks and confuses Rick. She activates it again, going faster, but this time is shocking and confusing to Rick because of how slow it is. She is slower than him running normally, and dodges it. Angelica realizes that only a handful of A-rank knights can dodge that, but still attacks. Rick is in disbelief at how slow she is, till suddenly she trips on a rock and goes barrel swinging out of control. Rick manages to dodge it. Angelica knows that she tripped, but pretends it was on purpose. Next, she activates her ultimate Flickering Feet, 3 times more powerful than before, but to Rick, this is still extremely slow, which he doesn't get and dodges. She can only use Ultimate Flickering Feet 2 more times, but decides to continue, hoping striking at full speed in succession will do. She strikes and misses and is now only able to use Ultimate Flickering Feet 1 more time, and Rick decides to go for an attack, till suddenly she trips on a rock and it turns into a low strike. About to punch her away, Rick wonders if he'll make it in time and strikes the ground, completely destroying the surrounding area. Angelica realizes if she hadn't tripped, that attack would have landed on her and she'd be dead. He figures she'd managed to dodge and decides to finally put everything he has into fighting. Scared of him, she backs away, and as Rick is about to fight for real, Angelica surrenders. But then Rick asks about their promise. The loser of the duel was going to become the winner's servant until death. Realizing Rick remembers this, Angelica overcomes her limits and uses Ultimate Flickering Feet again to run away, along with Freed. Confused and wondering if he can really count this a win, Renette reminds Rick that it's almost time for the results of the test, and now his mind is occupied on whether or not he passed. Renette further continues to state that the rest of the members of the Orichalcum Fist, Broughton, and the others will be coming soon. Stressed out and worried, he asks why, and she tells they're coming to see how he's faring with the test. As the party walks closer, Rick is only getting a bad feeling about this whole thing. But what does this mean? How will the group arriving affect the dynamics of the story? Will Rick finally realize how powerful he is? And what will happen next? We'll find out in the next episode. If you enjoyed this video, look out for the next recap. Subscribe, and I'll see you then.